review a little bit what we've been doing. We've been talking about kas, anger. And what we've said is that although anger is a natural human emotion, it is not one that the Torah allows. It doesn't allow it because it's destructive. Who does it destroy? It destroys ourselves most of all. It eats us from inside. It destroys relationships. It destroys families. And it destroys us. So it's something we have to get under control, anger. It's not something that we can just express ourselves. We also said that it's natural to be angry. Somebody does something wrong, somebody hurts your feelings, somebody insults you. So it's normal to be angry. But the Torah said, okay, it's normal, but be great. Don't be normal. So work on it. Work on it. Now, I was saying to someone the other day that idea of working on something, when you work on it, is such a Jewish idea. I don't know if you hear it so often. I'm working on myself. I'm working on becoming. It's a very Jewish idea that I'm born a way, a certain way, I grow up a certain way, but I could change myself. That's uniquely true. I can change myself. I'm not stuck in something. So if I'm a person who displays anger, I can learn to control that. Questions? No questions yet. Okay, this is all review. We also talked about what the antidote for anger is. Anybody remember? Patience. The Hebrew word is savlanut. Every taxi driver in Israel. Savlanut. And we translate, I gave 3 translations because I don't think any one of them covers the gamut of what it means. Patience, like you said.
Tolerance and acceptance.
Tolerance and acceptance, which are 3 different things. Patience is, I'll wait it out. Tolerance is, I'll put up with it. Acceptance is, I accept you for who you are. You're not perfect, you made a mistake, you blew it, whatever. And so if I'm dealing with another person in my life, and it doesn't matter who that person is, could be my husband, could be my roommate, could be my friend, could be my neighbor, I need to not only be patient and tolerant, I need to accept. Some of the things I might have to accept are, you don't get it. You don't understand. Okay. It's not a sin if somebody doesn't understand. But it's something that I might get angry about if I don't accept your limitations, let's say, or your faults. And so, savlanut, the antidote to anger is learning how to accept people for who they are. Here's a question. We talked about it last time. See if you remember. Does that mean that I have to put up with everything everybody does?
No.
No, what does it mean? What's acceptance means? Tolerance, patience, savlanut. What does that mean? Yes, of course, pick your battles. That's a good part of it. Yes?
A part of it is also like accepting the fact that you're not flawless and that you have issues.
Correct. I'm also not flawless. I also have faults. And maybe it's your issue rubbing against my issue that's creating that feeling of anger. Good. It also means that I could negotiate. I could always, listen, you do something wrong to me, I don't feel good about it, I could talk to you about it. We could talk about it. I could tell you, when you did X, I felt Y. But I can't blow up at you. You scum of the earth. I can't do that. When you always did, you would never do. No, that's not a way to respond. Patience, savlanut, tolerance is a place from which I respond. Once I get my anger, my internal anger, under control, then I could come to you and say, Devorah, I have a problem. Here's my problem. When you come late to class, it's breaking the rules. That's my problem. So please be on time. That's your problem, right? Right. But for me to blow up and say, that's my ego, that's my hurt, that's my wounded pride, and it's not going to get me anywhere. It's only going to destroy me and destroy you in the process. Questions? So, sablanut doesn't mean I can't respond. The opposite. Listen, if I'm in a long-term relationship with someone, I often must respond. If my roommate is always coming in at 3 o'clock in the morning and turning the light on, right, that could be very upsetting. So I have to respond, but I have to respond when I'm... I see some girls looking at each other.
No, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
I'm glad it doesn't happen. But I have to respond from calm. Do you follow? I have to respond wanting to work it out in a way that is going to work for both of us. Do you follow? And if I can't do that, I have to calm down first and then have a dialogue. But I won't get anywhere in any of my relationships if I can't have a dialogue, and I won't get anywhere if all my dialogue is about screaming, and I won't get anywhere if all my dialogue is about being right. Yes? My dialogue has to be like, when you come in at 3 in the morning, I know it's important for you, but for me, you're interrupting my sleep. Is there a different way we could work this out? Right? Okay? So, one thing Rbzn suggests, I don't think we talked about this, and we did, before I get to the suggestion, Rbzn says the word sablan, patience, comes from the word sabal, which means to carry another person's, sabal is a porter. He carries the baggage. Everybody in my life has baggage. Some people have a big set of Samsonite luggage. And my job as their friend, as their wife, as their sister, as their daughter, as their mother, my job is to carry the baggage. Meaning, not to drop it. It's not my job to fix it, by the way. I can't fix somebody else's baggage. It's not my job. Some people do this. To adopt their baggage as my baggage. That's not my job. Your stuff is your stuff. It doesn't belong to me. I'm not going to be angry about it. But my job is to carry your baggage and say, okay, I know you have this problem. You're always late. I'm going to carry that baggage. I'm going to put up with it. I'm going to somehow talk. You know what? I'm going to accept that you're a late person. Don't count on it tomorrow. You have to be on time. But do you follow what I'm saying? So that's the story. Okay, the word nisuin, which means what? Marriage, comes from the word nosei, which means carry. Rbzn says when people would come to him for advice, what spiritual thoughts should I have under the chuppah? What should I be thinking about? Kabbalistic spiritual ideas should I have under the chuppah? Rbzn would say to them, when you're under the chuppah and you're standing next to this person you're about to marry, make a commitment that you're going to carry her baggage. She's your wife. That's what you should be thinking. And obviously the same thing is true of you. If you're standing, you're going to carry your husband's baggage. That's it. This is the person you're going to grow with, and you're going to help, and he's going to help you. And part of the commitment is, whatever your stuff is, okay, fine. I don't have to make it my stuff, but I have to tolerate it, and I have to accept it.
I think it's very hard not to make it your own while making it your own. Carrying it, not to let it be such a weight. It is weighty to carry someone else's baggage, but you can't I don't know, what's
the line?
The line.
What's the line between
carrying
their baggage and making it your own?
Yeah,
it's a very clear line, actually. I think that it's true. A lot of people today have a very difficult time making that line.
Well, I think people in general have problems with boundaries.
Yes, but generally a problem with boundaries today. But in particular, I think that we have this tendency in the modern world in the last 50 years or so to just walk away from baggage. I don't like your baggage, I'm out of here. I'll cut off from my sister, or I'll divorce my husband, or I'll stop talking to my mother because I don't like your baggage. Listen, everybody's got some stuff. Everybody. Even I, believe it or not. I know it's hard to really believe because I'm so perfect, but everybody's got stuff. Okay, that was a joke. You're supposed to laugh. Laughter here. Everybody's got something. Your problem is not my problem. That you get emotionally upset when X happens. Like, you know what? You have to own that. I'm not going to adopt it, but when you're crying, I'm going to say, oh, I'm sorry it hurts you so much. It's not my problem. And so, listen, people pay hundreds of dollars for therapists to learn this little secret. Somebody else's problem isn't mine. It's her problem, his problem, not my problem. And so, where's the line? The line is, listen, I gotta live with somebody. I gotta live with my neighbor, I gotta live with my husband, I gotta live with my friends, I gotta live with my mother, I gotta live with my sister. That's my sister, the only sister I have, so what am I supposed to do? Right? But again, just because someone in my life is easily emotionally upset, that's not my problem. My problem is to try to be careful not to be the trigger for her upsetness, but if she gets upset, I can't help that. She has to own it. Don't own somebody else's stuff. Carry it, but don't own it. Do you hear the difference?
Like, don't blame yourself for their problems, but still be sensitive.
Correct. Don't blame. It's a good way to say it. Don't blame yourself for their problems. Don't say, oh my gosh, I have to fix her, I have to fix me to respond to her. No, you just, but you got to work with her. Part of working with her is going to be accepting her.
So then where would that line be if you have a friend who Sean has an anger issue, she has an anger issue, but at the same time, do you have the responsibility not to trigger, or do your best not to trigger her anger?
Listen, my friend has an anger issue. Do I do my best not to trigger her anger issue? That's a good question. It depends on what the relationship is. If I'm living with someone, I can't tiptoe around the house. I can't be walking on eggshells.
Right.
On the other hand, I could try to discuss things and negotiate things and work things out the best we can. And then if even in that situation the person I'm living with gets upset, it's not my problem. I'm just going to go to my room. I'm going to go to the kitchen. I'm going to do something else, not become emotionally drawn into her problem. Right? Yes, yeah.
I tried to remember the right word to say, but maybe somebody can help me out with that. But what about when a psychologist treated a customer, let's say that, and she didn't get to own her problem? How does she handle that?
If a therapist, you're saying?
Yes.
If a therapist triggers a client, right, then who doesn't get to own her problem?
The therapist. No, the therapist.
The therapist.
Because the therapist is the one who is hearing the issue. So she didn't need to own her problem.
No, listen, a good therapist, there are lots of bad therapists out there, but a good therapist will stay, and it's hard to do because even though she's a therapist, she is a person, right? A therapist has to stay outside of it. If she triggers her client, she has to know, and she has to not adopt the client's problem. She has to be separate from it. If she gets into it, if the therapist is triggered by the client, that's a problem. And sometimes the therapist has to dismiss themselves from a case. And sometimes they have to talk they also have supervisors. A good therapist has a good supervisor. And then they go, it's true. Then they go to the supervisor and say, I was triggered by a client. And then she works it through and goes back, and sometimes you have to even apologize. A therapist is just a person. She could also be triggered. She could also make a mistake. You follow? And now we're talking about even a good therapist. I'm not talking about bad therapists who are, not necessarily doing a good job. Okay? So, now, the study of Musar is about the study of growth. It's about growing. You know what? It's not about intellectual acquisition. Okay, now I got an idea. Sablanut means patience, means tolerance. I took notes. I wrote it all down. The study of Musar is about putting this into my life. It's about me becoming that which I learned. Right? And so Revolva in his book always gives an exercise. This is how to grow this piece of Musar. This is how to grow into the person that we're talking about. And so he gives us a very good piece of advice here. And I'm on page 33. The book is in Hebrew. You do not have to follow in Hebrew. You can listen to the translation. I like to use the book. Those of you who want to follow can. Those of you who don't want to follow, you can just listen. I'm in the third paragraph. How do we learn to be patient, tolerant, accepting? So, everything in life that you want to learn, you start with baby steps. Don't take on too much ever. A little at a time. He says, set for yourself every day a time. How much time? 15 minutes. 15 minutes a day you're going to practice being patient, tolerant, and accepting. 15 minutes a day. And on those 15 minutes, we're going to carry, we're going to tolerate, accept whatever happens, whatever is said for those 15 minutes a day. I'm going to have a set 15 minutes a day. Now, my advice to you, by the way, is if you set the time when you're sleeping, that's not going to help you. I'm gonna be very tolerant 1 a.m. to 1:15 a.m. when I'm fast asleep. That's not going to work. It's also not going to work if you make it the hardest hour of the week, like Erev Shabbat. When you're running around trying to make Shabbat, and everybody's like a little frantic. That's not a good time to practice. A good time to practice is when things, a period of time during the day, when things are relatively usually going okay, but there could be some conflict. For instance, I would say here at Sherry, maybe lunchtime, or maybe 7 in the evening in your dorm, from 7 to 7:15, or from 1:15 to 1:30 when you're standing in line to get your delicious, yummy vegetarian lunch. That would be a really good time to practice savlanut, patience, tolerance. Okay? And that 15 minutes, whatever time you set, if you see something that's not in your feeling, it's not your taste, it's not what you think is right, it's not appropriate, it's not mannerly, it's not normal, it's not good, it's annoying, it's frustrating, it's disgusting. But for those 15 minutes, I'm not going to react. Yeah? I'm not going to react no matter what. I'm going to be patient and tolerant. Maybe in my mind I'll be thinking, wow, she pushed ahead of me in line. But you know what? I guess she's really hungry. I'm going to kind of calm down. And or she pushed ahead of me in line, maybe she didn't see me. Right? Oh, she took the last of the sweet potatoes. Oh, you know what? I guess I wasn't supposed to have sweet potatoes. I want to diet anyway. In other words, for 15 minutes, you're going to talk yourself out of being angry. Your first reaction might be angry because that's normal, but rather than let it out, you're going to control it. And that's how he advises us to proceed with learning how to be angry and not to be angry. And this 15 minutes a day is not just a week. I'm going to start it to you for a week. I'm going to ask you next week to come back and tell me what you felt like, what happened in those 15 minutes. But when Revolva, by the way, signs it in yeshivas, for months, it's something you practice for a long time until it becomes part of you. Right? Now the key always with growth is a little at a time, Yeah, something you can, what?
Over
Over
a long period.
a long period of time, a little time of slow growth, over a long period of time, right? Something you can handle, but it's a little bit of a stretch. If you take something that's too big a stretch, it's not going to work, right? If you take something that's too much, it's also not going to work. It's something that's a bit of a stretch, but something I can handle. That's a good thing to work on. Okay, and again, the idea, as I started out by saying, is to work. Okay, I think we're going to end the shiur here. Thank you very much, ladies. And have a good lunch.